Hello again, this is Marc Suderman coming to you from a cherry field, and this block is finishing up with bloom. We're at petal fall stage and the canopy is developing. But it doesn't matter what crop you grow, if it's a tree crop or it's a crop that grows a canopy, what information we're going to share today about tricontinol will be beneficial to you. So canopy development is underway. Bloom is finished, petal fall is almost done, and what we're dealing with now as a stage development is the cell division of both the canopy, the developing fruitlets. Don't forget the ever important roots. That root spring growth is very vital to productivity in that plant because ultimately that's how it feeds itself and waters itself. And remember, plants drink their meals. And so more straws in the ground or more hair root production in your root zone is going to be able to enable that plant to feed itself better. In terms of growing a strong canopy, though, there's some tricks you can use that are really advantageous. When we're talking about canopy health, many times it gets overlooked. It's almost like something that's hidden in plain sight. But in truth, when you consider how much annual growth is produced that's carbon, hydrogen, oxygen based, it's significant. Depending on whose research you read, it's between 80 and 95% of the annual growth. And that's significant when you consider that only leaves somewhere around 5%, which is where growers tend to put their focus on their nutrient management plan, their fertilizer inputs. And when we consider how important, vitally so, the canopy health is to making that plant grow productively and good quality crops at the same time, we shouldn't be overlooking it. So when we talk about canopy development, it's important to remember that if we have very good bloom conditions and we set a heavy crop, that's just the beginning of the adventure. We've got more mouths to feed, and that tree's got to supply what those fruits need as they develop in order to maximize their genetic potential. What do I mean about genetic potential? Well, you all know about cell division and you know about cell elongation. Well, when we are developing a canopy, that's cell division, isn't it? Just like when we're having fruit breaking out of the jackets after bloom and growing at a very rapid rate too. That's all cell division. And just because we can't see the roots growing doesn't mean that cell division isn't happening. And so what you need to do is think in terms of, in order to maximize this stage of growth and development to my benefit, what do I need to feed that plant in order to better serve its purposes? So when you talk about neoteric agriculture and fertility plants, the general guidelines framework are start every crop with phosphorus, grow that crop with nitrogen, and finish it with potassium. Depending on what crop it is, then you fill in between with your other nutrients. With cherries or with apples, stone fruit varieties, even almonds, you're going to want to also water run some plant ready calcium once your plant canopy is growing and you're finished with bloom. I usually use petal fall as a dividing line to decide when to start putting ground applications on and start looking at canopy fortification. The other thing that I have found that is very beneficial is phosphorus, manganese, zinc, and boron in small amounts because they help translocate sugars from the canopy down to the roots in a very efficient manner. And tricontinol. Maybe you haven't heard of tricontinol. It's not something new, it's kind of new to agriculture. Tricontinol stimulates mesophyll production when it's applied during the cell division stage, and that helps to not only stimulate thicker, larger leaves that are more efficient for absorbing sunlight, they also have a larger volume, which means there's more solute capacity. So during the day, when photosynthesis is taking place, there's a higher amount or a larger volume amount of solutes that can be produced, which also acts just like radiator coolant. So not only do you have canopy with more capacity, it's the equivalent of putting extra cooling capacity in your tractor. So when you're working during the summer days, that tractor can work harder for you. In this instance, we have trees that take a lot longer to heat up during the hot summer months. That means that your plant is also going to be more productive photosynthetically during those periods of time too. And when photorespiration does occur, it is shut down for less time. And so by supplying the plant with the ability to grow larger leaves that have more volume and more photosynthetic capacity, you are helping that plant be more productive. Other byproducts you're going to gain from that is better bud development and bud differentiation during the growing season too. And with less downtime, you're also going to have a more efficient approach as you go through the bulking and growing in cell elongation stages to maturity. You're going to have a more uniform ramp up and a more uniform harvest simply because the last 4 weeks of that harvest or prior to harvest, those secondary compounds that need to be produced, anthocyanins, carotenoids, even tannins, all very important. The waxes and cutins shouldn't be discounted either. They're all very important to help protect that plant, or better said, to help that plant better tend, mend, and defend itself. And by enabling the photosynthetic efficiency of that plant by stimulating at cell division stage with tricontinol, you gain a tremendous amount of growth efficiency and development efficiency. Because ultimately, if it takes a certain number of degree growing hours to mature a crop, if you can do it in less because the efficiency is higher, that's in your pocket. That's in your benefit. And ultimately, getting the canopy to work for you is really in your best interest. Speaking of canopy benefits, during the growing season, a lot of important things are occurring. In addition to bud development and bud differentiation after that, we also have situations where latent buds will push because of the fortification of the tricontinol, and that creates a more productive growth effect. You see, what tricontinol does, it actually slows apical dominance and stimulates meristematic growth. So in simple terms, you get more branching. More branching equals more fruiting surface area. And by having a more productive tree, that means you have less rank growth that has to be pruned off due to overvigor. And by channeling the energy, by channeling the nutrients into more productive areas, you get a more squatty or more compact plant, but you gain a lot more productivity per cubic foot of tree. Take a look here on these scaffolds. In many old orchards, this is what we'll see, is that there's blank spots where there's no growth. Well, as we can see here, where we had tricontinol applied this past season, we have this spring new buds that are pushing, that were latent buds last year, that are now pushing and promoting spur development. This is really a benefit because that was blank surface area with blind wood. What we're stimulating is good return bloom in the form of fruiting spurs. That's going to be beneficial for long-term productivity and, in essence, reinvigorating an older tree. Thanks again for watching. I hope this information has been helpful. If you're looking for more information, we've got some questions, feel free to stop by my website, www.soilmatters.net. Here's to your crop success.